and welcome to Cyber Focus, your source for international business information. My name is Sarah Koh, and our guest today is Dr. Mark Pomar. Now, Dr. Pomar received his doctoral degree in Slavic languages and literature from Columbia University and currently serves as a senior advisor of the U.S.-Russia Foundation for Economic Advancement and the Rule of Law. Now, before his current post, he extensively worked with numerous international non-governmental organizations involving civil society, social entrepreneurship, strategic planning and execution, and management. He has also taught at Syracuse University and University of Vermont. Now, in this session, Dr. Pomar will share with us the current socioeconomic state between U.S. and Russia and how the two countries can look past their differences and work towards building a more cooperative partnership. So Dr. Pomar, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Indiana University.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
Absolutely. So first of all, what brought you to Indiana University this time around?
Well, I actually have good history with Indiana University. This time I'm here to give a talk on U.S.-Russia relations, to participate in a conference, to meet with one of our grantees. We've supported a program that Indiana University ran for Russian professors of economics, and I just met with two professors from the economics department to see how we could continue that program.
Wonderful. So just coming right to U.S.-Russia relations, so the two countries haven't necessarily seen many issues eye to eye. So in your opinion, at least on the socioeconomic front, what do you think are some of the hurdles that the two countries would have to overcome this year?
Well, I think that there's a long history between the United States and Russia, and prior to that, the Soviet Union. And there are things that need to be overcome. There is the whole bipolar world that existed during the Cold War, which, with the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Russia felt it no longer was a superpower. In many ways it isn't, but there's still a longing and a desire to be that power and to play an important role in world events. There's also, I would say, just the difficult legacy of 70 plus years of Soviet rule and how hard it is for Russia to this day to switch to a truly market economy and to a global economic world. This is a country that was run very differently for many years, and old habits die hard. And when I lived in Russia, and I lived there for 7 years, just recently, I would tell people there are two Russias. I sort of can go into a store and feel there is the new Russia that is no different than Europe or the United States or Asia, and then I can walk out of that store and walk into what is a throwback to the Soviet Union. And the two kind of coexist, and there's a lot of tension within Russia as to how to overcome, I think, a very difficult legacy that they have.
Well, I quickly mentioned in the intro, but you've had some great experience and extensive experience especially in global strategic planning and international development. So drawing from your experiences and the work you've been doing at the foundation, what do you think are some positive economic or cultural opportunities that the U.S. and Russia can look forward to fostering?
Mm-hmm. I would say first and foremost is the whole area of innovation, IT, biomedicine. Russia is a highly educated country and has the traditions going back many, many years, certainly through the Soviet period, of doing really cutting-edge research. Their problem has been how to translate that research into products that actually are viable on the world market. Something the United States does extremely well. And when I talk to Russian companies, to Russian universities, leading research universities, they look longingly at the United States, say, how do your universities do so well? And they mean Stanford and MIT, but also the tens and tens of universities that do very, very important startups, business development, translating the research from the laboratory to the marketplace is something the United States does better than anyone else in the world. Russians want that. They want to learn. And so I think there's an area that immediately comes to mind, and that is that learning how to be entrepreneurial, how to use because the Russians are very good at fundamental research, but they haven't been good at all in using that toward anything that actually makes products and eventually has an impact in the market.
Well, you just mentioned a great sector there, innovation, IT, communications. So currently, is that the sector that's most popular and that appear promising to not only U.S. investors and companies, but also international ones?
Of course, that's one creative one. The other one, of course, is the extraction of natural resources. So anything connected with oil, timber, mining. This is where Russia still makes most of its money. Even with oil prices depressed, most of the money still comes from the export of gas and oil and so forth. So there's always the need for technological improvement in that area as well. And American companies that have invested and have been able to stick with it through a lot of difficulties, through corruption problems and so forth, have actually done quite well. I have a friend who's a vice president at British Petroleum at BP, and he says BP long-term sees it absolutely has to be in Russia because it is one of the primary areas where oil will be around for many, many years, as well as other sources of energy. Exxon is there as another very big investor. So I think, on the IT side and biomedicine, you've got industry that will develop very quickly. And that's exciting because it's new, it's moving forward. But I think there's also the traditional need for the natural resource sector as well.
So finally, in your opinion, what kind of initiatives or programs do you think the private sector can more so be involved in order for the U.S. and Russia to kind of forge a more collaborative and a progressive relationship than what we've had in the past?
Well, it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. But I think that there are a number of programs that can be done. One of them, very simple one, is having graduate students, interns working in companies, both Americans working in Russia as well as Russians coming and working in the United States. And I know that the U.S.-Russia Business Council, the USRBC as we call it, which is a association of Western businesses that are prominent in Russia, are undertaking those kinds of internship programs, giving opportunities, let's say for students on an MBA program or engineering, sort of more the science and business side, to spend some time in country. Our foundation is exploring ways to support Americans working some period of time in Russia in a sector that they are involved in, to maybe build and forge relationships. I mean, as you know perfectly well, the way to succeed is partnership, relationships, knowledge of each other's culture, country, and I think that today's sort of political environment will pass. It will have to pass because and I think the younger generation in Russia will certainly be much, much more open to being part of the global economy.
That's wonderful. Well, Dr. Pomar, thank you so much for your insights and giving us some of your time to come in and speak with us.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Wonderful. Well, that's all for this edition of Cyber Focus. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any comments or suggestions for future topics, please let us know at CIBER, that's CIBER, @indiana.edu.